The code that I specified in the previous video does an excellent job of accessing one particular URL and downloading its data, but the goal of this challenge is to allow the user to specify a date and then get data based on that date. In this video, we will look at the modifications to our code that allowed it to get input from the user and decide which data to access based on that input. I started by adding a main method to the Java file so that this code can be run. The syntax is just public static void main and then a string array of arguments. We need to get 3 pieces of input from the user: the year, the month, and the day they want to access. There are obviously a wide variety of ways to get this input, including complicated graphical interfaces, but for the purposes of this challenge, we will keep things simple and just use the console. First, define a string array to hold the data input. Then we initialize a scanner on system.in, which refers to any input given in the terminal. We can just use print statements to get the user input. For instance, system.out.println, enter a year 2006-2014, followed by s0 equals in.nextLine, asks the user to enter a year, and then gets whatever they type on the next line as their input. We can then repeat this for the month and the day using the same format. Be sure to close your scanner once you're done with it. With this, we have a method to handle all of the input that we need for this challenge. Now we need to translate this input into data retrieval. As you can see here, getData takes in 2 inputs, a string called type and then a string array. The string array contains the 3 values for the date, which we just specified, and the type array will specify whether we want wind gusts, air temperature, or barometric pressure. In the main method, we have 3 lines accessing this method, and each one is getting the values for a different type of data. But how can we actually use this input? Essentially, we're going to take advantage of the structure of the given URL to systematically generate the correct URL for the data based on the input. Rather than typing the whole URL out in a single string, we can use the following format. The URL is set right up until the date, at which point S0, S1, and S2 are used in place of actual numbers, and then the type is specified. Note that I also added in a bunch of slashes and underscores in quotes to match the exact formatting of the URL. It's important to ensure that you do match this formatting exactly, otherwise the URL will not detect. With this code, we will now take in user input and get data from the external data source based on that input. Now let's move on to operating on that data.